we're going to talk shifting the energy of overwhelm. I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee. Hopefully, you guys have a beverage. You've had a good morning. Tell me in the chat where you're hopping on from. Give me a little hey. And let's chat overwhelm. Who's felt overwhelmed in their business, their life, all of the things? And where are you feeling overwhelmed right now, physically in your body? If you're feeling overwhelmed, tell me where you feel it in your body before we get started. All right, Virginia. You guys know I used to be from the East Coast. I was actually born in Maryland and grew up there. Moved from there when I was 15 to Colorado. So I know Virginia. All right, let's talk about overwhelm. Overwhelm happens when we're up leveling. Overwhelm happens when we are expanding and we are confronting and challenging old ways of being and old stories that we have. Good morning, Carla from Seattle. Bright and early. It's the same time for me here too. That's why I'm drinking coffee. So overwhelm typically is an overarching emotion or energy in our body, and there's typically something underneath the overwhelm. So when we're expanding, when we are growing, when we're getting to that next level, when we are basically confronting what we've thought is possible, what we've thought we could do, what we've thought we could ask for, what we think we can handle, what we think we're capable of. Good morning, Mariel. Then we feel overwhelmed because it's something that we can't even like grasp, right? Where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't even grasp that because in the past I never did that before. And maybe in the past you never even imagined being able to do that before, right? So overwhelm is always when you are confronting and challenging current stories, current beliefs, current energies going on within you. So when I have a client come to me and they're like, I'm really struggling with overwhelm, my first question to them, and here's your first step with shifting overwhelm, is asking yourself what's really underneath the overwhelm. What is the feelings underneath the overwhelm? What is the thought driving the overwhelm? Because there's usually an expectation or a thought that's putting expectation, putting pressure, or a story that we are buying into that is contributing to the overwhelm. And there are usually other emotions going on at the same time that are really what's like the combination of the emotions, right, is causing the overwhelm. And so you want to identify it in your body. You want to say, where am I feeling this physically in my body? And that can be hard for some people when they're not used to that, but start identifying it in your body and how it feels in your body. How does that feeling feel in your body? Does it feel tense? Does it feel tight? Does it feel like a brick? Like, what does it feel like physically on your body and where in your body? Because when we bring awareness to things, then we can shift them, right? So number one is identify what's underneath. What's the thought driving this, the expectation, and where is it in your body? And how does it feel in your body? Because when you bring awareness to it, great, now we can start to shift that. Number two, talk to that part of you and allow that part of you to express. I have this visualization I sometimes walk clients through where they literally get to have a conversation with that part of them, like the overwhelm or whatever the feeling is. And they get to talk to it. They get to figure out why it's here, like what its message is, all of the things. And that can be very, very useful because oftentimes there is a message for us. Oftentimes it's here for a reason. And until we give it place to express itself, it's going to stick around. That's how emotions work. You can ignore them and they will just keep growing, keep getting louder, and keep coming back until you pay attention to it. So sometimes that can be really, really helpful. I have other practices I walk my clients through to be able to talk to that part of them, but just start identifying the feeling and then talk to that part of you, but then allow it to say what it wants to say. So that part of you that feels overwhelmed, what does it really want to say? It wants to say like, F this, like, I can't do all of this, like, blah, 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 blah. Like it wants to probably say and express some things. So you need to give it a voice, allow it to have a voice. Carla says she gets tension in her shoulders often. Yeah. Yeah. So you got to start identifying that and why it's here. Number 3, physical movement. Physical movement is your third step in shifting overwhelm, because we have to engage the body in order to start releasing emotions. So we're talking to the mind, we're talking to that part of ourselves, we're identifying the story running the show, but then we're going to physically get that out of us, because that's how energy works, right? We're energetic beings and we want to shift that to change it. So I like to use dance music. I like to use anger exercises. There's like a variety of different body processing things that you can use, that I use with clients often, and I teach them how. But physical movement, asking yourself how you would like to express it in that moment, will be very, very helpful. That's why people turn on dance music and all of a sudden they feel happy, right? Like that's not a surprise why that happens. That's because you're engaging your body. So that's number 3. Number 4 is do the opposite of what you normally do. So when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling all of these things, what's your pattern? What do you normally do? Do you shut down? Do you stop? Do you buy into the story? Like, what do you do normally? And what would be the opposite? The opposite in overwhelm is usually stepping forward. The opposite for overwhelm is usually doing the scary thing, because usually overwhelm is trying to keep you from like the scary thing. It's trying to restrict your expansion. We just talked about at the beginning of this, overwhelm comes when you are expanding, when you're elevating, when you're bumping up against your edge. Good morning, Monica. Thriving Mama says, mine is a fear right now in my gut that no one will sign up for my new program. I feel like I need to do more, but I know that's not true. So you need to shift that, right? You need to shift that out of your body, because whatever energy you're putting towards it is what's going to manifest, right? So you need to be able to shift that. Good morning, kindergarten teacher, Miss Davidson. So overwhelm happens when we're bumping up against our edge. It's kind of like upper limiting for those of you who've read The Big Leap, such a good book. But it's like you're reaching that edge of what you thought was possible. You're reaching that edge of what you thought was probable, or what you were capable of, or worthy of, or all of the things. Overwhelm happens because we're like, oh my God, I can't imagine, right? So you need to keep going. You need to do the scary thing, and you need to break through to that next level and show yourself that you can, by doing the opposite of what you've always done. That's step number 4, is doing the opposite of what you've always done. So when you feel overwhelmed and you usually do this, what would the opposite be? What would stepping forward into that next level be? What would it actually require of you in order to break this story? Because right now, overwhelm's attached to a story that you have that keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back, because you keep doing the same thing every single time. Okay. So I'm going to repeat the steps again, and then you can ask me any questions that you have. But number 1, identify what's underneath. What are the thoughts driving this? What are the feelings in your physical body when you have overwhelm? What are really the feelings underneath? Overwhelm's an overarching emotion. There's usually feelings underneath, and they're usually because of thoughts that are placing pressure, expectation, all of the things. And usually it's a symptom of, I said this many times, it's a symptom of upper limiting. It's a symptom of confronting old stories, old beliefs, old things that we are now, I don't want to say like breaking through, but we're essentially challenging them. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. We're challenging them, and we get overwhelmed, because the overwhelm will cause us to shrink back down and stay comfortable and stay where we've been. So number 1, identify what's underneath. What's the thought driving this? What are the feelings in your physical body? How does it feel in your physical body? Number 2, talk to that part of it. Have a conversation with the feeling. Ask what it's here for. Ask what it wants to teach you. You can have a conversation with that past version of you, whatever it is. There's different ways of doing that I teach my clients. Number 3 is physical movement. You need to shift it physically out of your body, however your body wants to move, with music or anger exercises or different ways of expressing physically, breath work, all of the things. Number 4, do the opposite. Do the scary thing, because that's how you create a new story. You have a typical pattern when overwhelm hits. You do this. You always go back to that. And that's why this is still here for you. That's why it's still a pattern. And in order to break this pattern, you have to do something different. And you can't just do something different. You have to do the other steps too, right? Where you shift it physically, all of the things. But then you have to do something different in order to start creating a new story. So many people get stuck because they just do the whole like, I'll just tell myself new affirmations and I'll just like blah, 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 work through it mentally. Okay, great. That's great. But you're not going to change the story. You're not going to create a new story without new action. There has to be new action in order to change this story and give yourself a new story, because action is what creates stories and stories feed the action. It's this cycle that we get stuck in. Okay. So that's why that last piece is so, so critical. If you are still having this pattern come up for you, if you're still stuck in this pattern with overwhelm, it's because you're not doing all of these. You might be doing one of them or two of them, but you're not doing all of these. So there were your 4 things for shifting overwhelm. Yay. All right. Anyone that's interested in breath work, because that's where you start changing your body. That's where you start actually literally raising your vibration energetically, is by shifting things in your body. Come to the group session on Saturday. It's virtual. You can join from anywhere. It's going to be amazing. There's a link in my bio. There's a link in Luxury Breathwork bio. I can't wait to see you there, because that's your missing piece. If you've been doing mindset work for years, if you've been following all of the steps that everyone says to do, you've been buying the courses, you've been implementing all of the things and nothing's working for you, it's because you haven't worked with your body and you've got all of this stuff stored in your body that's not shifting to match what you're saying. You have to shift how you feel and how you instinctively respond in your body to match what you're saying. So when you think about paying the bills, when you think about clients signing up or not signing up, what is that instinctive reaction in your body that reveals stories that are stored in your body? So it doesn't matter how much you tell yourself, like, oh no, I believe it'll work, blah, 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 blah. If your body, when you think about it and you think about putting this offer out there and your body's like, what if no one signs up? That's your real energy you're putting out there. Doesn't matter what you're saying. That's your real energy you're putting out there. And you shift that with body work and breath work. So I will see you guys Saturday. Get a ticket. Go have a beautiful day. Implement your 4 things to shift overwhelm and tag me in it. I would love to see what you're doing. All right. Talk to you later.